Now, before we get into today's video, I want you all to click the link below and join my email list right now. There's a whole lot of great content that I want to send to you, but YouTube doesn't let me show you. Must be systemic racism. They deleted a bunch of our videos, but that will not stop me from telling you the truth. So join my email list right now. The link is in the description. I have a relatively new friend. Her name is Jackie. Jackie is a hardcore lefty. And from time to time, I send her stuff to counteract some of her beliefs. For example, she believes that Donald Trump incited an insurrection. So I send her an article written by Alan Dershowitz. And the reason I sent it to her, because Alan Dershowitz is a hardcore lefty by his own admission. He believes in high taxes. He voted twice for Obama. He is a liberal, calls himself a liberal. He wrote a piece where he said that the January 6th committee is basically a witch hunt. So I sent it to her. And she texted back and she said, I don't like to read garbage. And I said, Alan Dershowitz is garbage? Alan Dershowitz, who graduated number one in his class at Harvard professor emeritus, who was on the dream team, Alan Dershowitz? Here's what Dershowitz said in part. Article says, Democrats stretching the law in an attempt to burn Trump. Here's the subheadline. Tomorrow it could be Black Lives Matter, or union organizers, or even a progressive president. And here's what he said, and I'm quoting. The thing most upsetting to me as a liberal Democrat, repeat, liberal Democrat, and civil libertarian is how hard they're searching for a crime. It reminds me of former head of the Soviet secret police saying to Josef Stalin, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And he talked about some of the wilder claims, including that he attempted to murder former VP Pence. And then he said this, quote, today they're targeting Trump. Tomorrow it could be Black Lives Matter, or union organizers, or even a progressive president when the roles are flipped. Now, he said this after a Washington Post article reported that the DOJ is investigating Trump and implying that they may very well indict Trump. I've told you before, I'm putting my house up. You may not want it because I live in the west side of LA and not too far from me is a homeless encampment and the cost of living is so crazy, price of gas close to $7, so you may not want it. But I put my house up that the DOJ is not going to indict Trump. Nearly 900 people were arrested on January 6th. Quote, the vast majority weren't even accused of carrying a weapon, assaulting law enforcement, or destroying property. Many didn't even enter the Capitol building. And then he said this. Did I mention that Alan Dershowitz is a liberal Democrat? The DOJ will totally ignore any conclusion reached by the House committee. There was no cross-examination. It was a corrupt process for eliciting evidence. Never before have we seen a hearing like this where the other side was excluded and we only got a one-sided story. He said the DOJ will only take up the case if there is, quote, a smoking gun that would be acceptable by the vast majority of Americans. He says the problem so far is there's, quote, no gun, not even a knife, just circumstantial inferences, end of quote. I'm not sure whether my friend is going to read it. Let's hope she does. I will again make you the same offer I made you before. I will continue to watch all of the January 6th committee hearings, the televised ones. If you watch 2,000 Mules, the documentary done by Dinesh D'Souza, and Rig, the documentary done by Citizens United, do we have a deal? Now, Joe Manchin of West Virginia was asked about his flip-flop on the tax raising and tax and spending bill that he once rejected. Watch this.
Why should Americans believe you now when you say that this new bill will not exacerbate inflation?
I made sure I don't make that mistake again. That's the bottom line. I make sure I didn't make that mistake again. With that, I tried.
I make sure I won't wait. Which mistake again? You mean voting against a bill that raises taxes and increases spending? Or you won't make the mistake of changing your mind? What was he even talking about?
Anticipating that we could help and do more, and everything that you've said here is correct, and I'm not countering that whatsoever. That's why I was extra cautious right now.
Everything you said is correct, and I'm not correcting you?
But there are some analysis groups, some nonpartisan groups, University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School, says the act would very slightly increase inflation.
Oops.
Until 2024, then decrease inflation after that. But it says roughly it's indistinguishable from zero, and they don't think it'll have an impact on inflation.
Don't forget, it's called the Inflation Reduction Act. Wharton says it's going to increase inflation in the near term and will have virtually zero effect on inflation, even though it's called the Inflation Reduction Act.
So, I mean, that's a group that's looking at this.
Brett, I respectfully disagree on that, but you know what? We can have differences of opinions.
You know, I respectfully disagree with Wharton. I mean, sure, they're economists. Sure, they looked at this. And sure, they say it won't have any effect on inflation. In fact, it will increase it in the short term. But I respectfully disagree. We can have a disagreement about opinions, can't we? You know, 2 + 2 = 4. Most people say that. But I respectfully disagree. Now, Biden made a lot of promises about student debt, and he's expected to address the issue by the end of this month. Now, what he said so far is that the relief will not be $50K in debt cancellation. He's reportedly considering $10,000 in, quote, forgiveness for borrowers making under $150K a year. That's the amount he pledged while on the campaign trail. Civil rights groups like the NAACP is telling him that $50,000 must be the minimum level of forgiveness with no income bracket caps because black borrowers have, quote, virtually no realistic way to pay it back in today's unjust economy. So Joe Biden, down with the black people. Joe Biden, who was involved in the civil rights movement, wasn't what he said he was. Joe Biden, who told Charlemagne the God, you ain't really black if you don't want to vote for me, if you don't know whether you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump. Joe Biden, who said he was arrested trying to visit Nelson Mandela. No, he wasn't, but that's what he said. And the NAACP is accusing him of shepherding an unjust economy. Are you suggesting that Joe Biden is racist? Now, we talked about this the other day. The NAACP had their annual meeting, I think it was in Atlantic City, and they addressed 4 topics. Number 1, reproductive rights. Never mind that about 1/3 of all abortions in America are performed on black women. Somehow, access to abortion is a civil right. Number 2, student debt. Most student debt in this country is held by middle class and upper middle class white people. Many of them getting advanced degrees they didn't need, like masters and PhDs. You know, like Jared Bernstein, the member of Joe Biden's Council of Economic Advisors. And the other day, he was referred to by Fox, Dana Perino, as an economist, and he didn't dispute that. He has an undergraduate degree in music, played double bass, not single bass, double bass, I'll give him that. He has a master's in social work. He has a PhD in philosophy, but he does not have a degree in economics. And now he is a, quote, economist, close up with no degree. So, assuming he had incurred debt and still owed it, although I'm sure he's paid it off, we would be paying for him. I call this reparations for white people. Now, speaking of the tolerant, open-minded left, like my friend I mentioned earlier, TikTok haters.
I don't know if I'm being a bit extreme with this, but prior to 2016, I go in the supermarket and there's a person next to me. The clerk who checked me out, go to the doctor's office, talk to the receptionist, the doctor, go to the dentist, get my car fixed. I had no issue. Now, 2022, I'm looking at the receptionist at the doctor's office and wondering if she's a Trump supporter. I'm wondering if my mechanic voted for Trump. I don't want you fixing my car, right? At the supermarket, the cashier who's ringing me through, did you vote for Trump? Because I don't want you ringing my up. My dentist, don't be drilling me if you voted for Trump. Is anybody else like me?
Let's take that to the logical extension, shall we? Your house is on fire. The firefighters show up and they find out that you are the one that put that TikTok thing up there. So the firefighters voted for Donald Trump. So I'm sure you don't want me putting out the fire in your house. You call 911 because somebody broke into your house. Probably a Biden voter, but that's neither here nor there. Cops show up. Wait a minute, isn't this a young lady that put up the TikTok video? Clearly, she would not want me coming in to protect her when somebody has broken into her house. You get on an airplane, and the pilot sees you. And the pilot says, I'm sure you don't want me flying a plane because I voted for Donald Trump. Get off! How far do you want to take this, young lady? Hope you enjoyed that video. The full show is available to watch right now on Epoch TV. Just click the link in the description below to learn more, because we've got a country to save.